Greetings, YouTube. I'm hoping there's actually some audio in this video. I was just watching a drag queen, Queen Coke Francis, and they were lambasting what conservatives publicly pass off as humor, because conservative humor is almost non-existent. And they're talking. One of the things they talked about in the clip, and it was very well done, is the whole women are too emotional to be president kind of thing. I mean, obviously the Queen was not saying that, but that's the narrative that conservatives have been pushing forever. That somehow, because women display emotions that aren't anger, that somehow makes them less stable than men who only express publicly the emotion of anger. And if a man expresses any other emotion other than anger, they are viewed as weak by weak men. I mean, that's just the way that's what it is. If you're a guy and you think another man expressing emotions other than anger makes that man weak, you've got that wrong. You're looking in a mirror. You're publicly admitting to the world that you are a weak human being because you're denying another person the capacity to fully express the range of emotions. And if all of us were allowed to express our emotions without restraint, without critique, maybe we'd all be a hell of a lot less mentally ill. Maybe we'd all be a hell of a lot happier. I can tell you right now, there'd be a whole lot fewer angry dudes. Now, I deal with anger issues. I have my entire life. Part of that's because I'm mentally ill. Part of that is because I'm autistic. And I didn't really know I was autistic until I was 58. I knew something was wrong with me, don't get me wrong. But I just thought I was broken. I'm not broken. I'm neurodivergent. But the world told me I was broken. And that conflict, that frustration was expressed by anger. I was angry all the time. And I'm not, that's not an act of, that's not a statement of hyperbole. There was a time in my life from the moment I woke up until the moment I went to sleep, my jaw was clenched in anger whenever I wasn't talking or eating. Literally, my teeth were clenched and my jaw muscles were tight every waking moment because I was so angry. I didn't know why I was angry because the whole world was treating me like shit because I wasn't neurotypical, because I wasn't dealing with the crap from my own childhood, the domestic abuse I put up at home, the, the sexual abuse I put up with outside the home. I didn't deal with that stuff. I didn't process that stuff. And I didn't know I was neurodivergent. So that internal conflict expressed itself as anger, which is the only legitimate emotion that most men in our toxically masculine society says they are allowed to express. Anger. But at some point I began to realize, is that person over there that you're currently enraged at actually doing anything? Are they thinking about you right now? Are you actually the center of attention that you think you are? That was my anxiety talking, of course. Anxiety makes you think that you are the center of the universe. And I began to pull that apart. And as I pulled that apart, I began to realize that all the things that I was angry at, almost all of them were pointless. Now, there are things worth being angry at. Toxic masculinity, the patriarchy, white supremacy. Those are things worth being angry at. Gay people and trans people being treated poorly, or being outlawed publicly, or being attacked verbally or physically. Those are all things worthy of being angry about. Those are things worthy of laying your life down to protect someone else because of. But that, that person over there who you've interpreted their emotional state as being negative, even though you yourself don't understand how emotional states work because you're nervous, you're neurodivergent, maybe they actually aren't thinking about you. Newsflash, they weren't thinking about me. And I've seen so many men wrapped up in their anger because it's the only emotion that we're allowed to display. It's the only one that's considered acceptable. And because it's the only one that we consider acceptable, lots of men think that they're some kind of Vulcan that doesn't express emotions. They've convinced themselves that anger isn't an emotion. And because it isn't an emotion, that's the only one they're allowed to express, obviously, they are purely logical persons. They are only thinking with reason and critical thinking and absolutely free from the emotional chains and shackles that women are stuck with. When those women are leading much healthier emotional lives than the men are. Now, their lives would be a lot healthier and happier if they weren't surrounded by toxically masculine angry dudes. Let's face it, we all would. Um, but they're still allowed to express more of their emotions. And in fact, the one emotion that women aren't allowed to express in public is, say it with me, anger. Because if a woman gets angry, that's seen as an aberration. Because only men are allowed to be angry. And that means that that woman is now encroaching upon masculine territory. But remember, anger is an emotion. But men are only allowed to display anger. If women display anger, that's bad. Yes, this doesn't make any goddamn sense to me either. And I've lived it. All right? I've been a traditional cisgender dude for my entire life. I've been a fairly traditional straight dude my entire life. And it doesn't make any sense to me either. Because I've gotten to the point in my life where I just want to pull this shit apart and see what it actually is. And what it is shit. It's a waste of our time. And when you come to realize that there's so many things in the world worth being concerned about, and the vast majority of the rest of them aren't. As I get older, the list of things I don't give a shit about grows longer and longer and longer. Not because I'm indifferent, because I realize that they don't have anything to do with me. What does it matter if that person lived their life like that? Is it impacting me? No. Is it harming anybody else? No. Are you convinced it's harming other people? Ask yourself why you're convinced of that. Why are you convinced that person living their life the way they are, that isn't affecting you, is negatively affecting other people? Why do you think that? Pull that apart. See if you can figure out what the mechanism behind that is. Because I can guarantee you, if you do it and you're honest and you have a help with a therapist, you're going to discover that that person isn't actually harming anybody. Maybe they are in your head, but what's going on in your head, newsflash, isn't the real world. That was a hard one for me to take too. But yeah, the whole bullshit of men being coldly logical and absolutely under control at all times, except for the fact that they're raging cauldrons of anger that will burst open at any potential any second. Yeah, that's I can't square that circle anymore. I just can't. I can't hold those two thoughts in my brain any longer. It's bullshit. And I'm still dealing with the anger issues. I still turn to anger as my first response to so many things. It's because I get frustrated. There's nothing wrong with being frustrated. Life is frustrating. It is completely acceptable to be frustrated with the situation. Be it tiny because you can't get the goddamn little plastic package in your hand open, or if it's big. It doesn't matter. Frustration is normal. How we respond to that frustration is what matters. And are we responding to it in a healthy, constructive way that helps us remove the frustration so we can go past it? Or are we allowing ourselves to get pulled into that frustration and then we respond with anger? It's all bullshit. All of it. So, yeah, don't give me that crap that men are better fit to leadership roles when men go off the handle at the drop of a hat. Any hat, anywhere on the planet, even though they've never seen the hat, they'll still get pissed off. Yeah. Women aren't perfect, but because they have been allowed to express more emotions, I think that makes them a hell of a lot healthier than most men. And most men would be well served with going to see a cognitive behavior therapist. Seriously. If you became emotionally aware and emotionally mature and you developed your emotional awareness of yourself and the world around you, you're going to be a hell of a lot healthier. And when somebody talks to you, you'll be able to ask yourself, is this person asking for sympathy or solutions? Now, I'm autistic. I'm bad at that. So I just ask them flat out, are you looking for sympathetic ear or are you looking for solutions? Because if it's sympathetic ear, boom, I just shut up and I listen. If it's a solution, then I engage that little autism brain of mine and I start trying to find solutions. Sometimes I screw up. Sometimes I'm completely off the mark. Sometimes I can because I'm looking at it from a perspective that they aren't. But just getting to the point in my life where I can ask that question out loud to other people and figure out what my role in this is a major win. My therapist was quite pleased when I told him I do that. He said, if more people did that, we'd be better off. I said, thanks. I agree. So yeah, men are angry all the goddamn time. And anger is an emotion. So don't bullshit yourself into thinking you're some kind of coldly logical Vulcan, because you're not. You need to express all the emotions. The highs, the lows, the good, the bad, all of them. And if you can't, go see somebody. And if you deride another man for being able to do that, that makes you a goddamn coward.